He's in his smoke too. He doesn't know I'm here until right now. Hello, sir. He nearly got me, but we got him instead. Let's go. Aha, he didn't expect me to drop the smoke. I love this smoke so much. Hey guys, welcome back to World of Warships. Today we're playing the Laffey. I have been having an absolute blast playing this ship. The more I've played it, the more I enjoy it. If you're on the fence about buying through this dockyard, maybe you're at the end, you've got the last 2 phases if you manage to complete all those crazy base XP requirements. 6,000 doubloons is honestly really good for a ship like this one. If you're someone who enjoys aggressive DD brawling engagements, knife fights as we call them, I think you're going to enjoy Laffey. The close range torps, the poor shell velocity with a super heal, the bursty smoke that allows us to engage and disengage at will. I just really like this ship. Of course, we do have the Lushun B Dockyard coming up for Black Friday. So if you have to choose between them, I would say Laffey is much harder to play. But if you're like me and you think this would be an enjoyable playstyle, I think you'll like this one more. I find Lushun B a little bit boring in comparison. Not that it's a bad ship at all, it's just it needs prolonged, longer range engagements, where Laffey is all about the burst, hit and run style engagements, which I love so much in this game. Dropping your smoke screen, surprising people who think that smoke's gonna last a lot longer. It is really fun. The super healing here is crazy. It actually compares rather favorably to Lushun in the healing compartment. Lushun has this ridiculously long duration heal, but you get 30% of your HP back in 60 seconds. We get that same 30% of our HP back in 20 seconds. So it makes this ship so good. Although you're seeing some of the poor shell velocity here, 85 HP and this Marceau is going to get away. It is very hard to lead these shells at range. It's the exact same as gearing guns. So if you're used to that, then maybe you can do well. But I'm actually going to completely miss finishing off this Marceau. He's doing a great job of dodging us. You'll notice I'm actually playing in a division here. I was playing with Malta and John. Their channels will be linked in the description down below. You should definitely go watch them if you're looking for some awesome content creators for this game. I know Malta took a break from the game for a bit, and with that, the YouTube algorithm can sometimes take a while. It's a bit of a weird thing, so want to remind you guys, go watch Malta's videos. He's back making content again. We were having so much fun in the Laffey, though. Malta and I were both playing this thing. Super aggressive, super fun. Keep the guns hot, always firing at 11 kilometers here. Still have like 10-second flight time. It's really hard to lead these guns. I should probably be swapping to the armor piercing here. It actually is pretty solid against broadsides. You get shorter fuses, not improved pen angles, but it is really good damage, especially since we're only penning superstructures on battleships. Yamato superstructure is already on fire. With the AP, we might be able to get through his upper belt, which is only 32. Although a Des Moines is looking at us now, and we go dark instantly. Being able to choose when this smoke goes up is really fun. Of course, it's not a Burrows smoke. Looked at that a little bit earlier on this week, or maybe last week, depending on when this video comes out. 200 seconds on the smoke for Burrows, 80 seconds only here. So you gotta be a lot more careful. But this ship has proper firing angles, even kiting, as well as having that healing, which Burrows doesn't have. So you're not as reliant on this smoke screen as a lifeline. As for playing it, you probably shouldn't push in front of islands like I did here. I got very lucky this Colbert was on the other side of that island. Otherwise, even with a super heal, I'm dead if that Colbert gets a hold of me here. Do not push in front of those islands. I always am mentioning that, but I actually made the mistake here myself. And I got away with it, but that doesn't mean it was a good play. Fortunately, John blindfire is crazy and finishes off that DD for us. So I'm going to go hunt the other destroyers. Instead of farming damage, I find myself always trying to get into these DD fights. It's so fun, man. It's such a different playstyle, and I'm loving it. You'll notice I'm always trying to be bow in and wiggling here when taking some of these fights. Or stern in, I guess, if I'm kiting, but I'm often pushing here, let's be honest. I'm using the AP here because Schultz has enough armor to shatter our HE in his broadside, but it arms the armor-piercing shell. It actually fuses the shell, so we get a lot of full pens there. And the battleships get a decent hit into me. We avoid the torpedoes. But notice how I'm wiggling back and forth, always going to like maybe 20 degrees to one side or the other at most. And that drifting mechanic throws off people's aim so badly. And it's not even people's fault, okay? If you're missing situations like that, I'm basically just abusing the poor aiming system in this game. There is aim assist, and, well, if you move your ship in the right way, you can basically guarantee people don't hit you. They fixed it for half an update in 14, like last month, end of last month, something like that. They had to hot fix the Le Havre secondaries, and whatever they did, they fixed the aim assist so that it wasn't so extreme. And now it's back, unfortunately. Wargaming, if you're listening, please give us the old aim system back. Don't let me abuse it in the Laffey. I'd much rather have just the normal aiming system. And I probably should drop my smoke screen, don't you think? Considering I have such a short duration on it. Come on. Come on. There we go. Finally. You got to be very careful with that. Much like Sabir, you don't want to waste the heal. You do not want to be wasting this smoke. But you should not be reliant on this smoke for getting away. You really want to be using island cover. There's going to be maps where you just don't have island cover to use. But since this smoke is such a limited supply, we can just use islands to disengage, just like this. Open up a little bit, and we go dark instantly. That's going to be the key to getting the most out of this Laffey and its smoke screen. Most maps should have island cover that allows you to disengage without the need of your smoke. So that should let you save your smoke for much more dangerous situations, or situations late game where there is more open water. Here, enemy Laffey broadside, and I'm going to stick with the AP. Even though our fuse threshold on this AP is 21 millimeters, Laffey has 19 millimeters of armor, a slight angle is enough to fuse it here. Daring would fuse all the time here, but even a little angle, we get good damage in. So a similar trade, even though he was using all of his guns and I only had my front 2 guns. Very interesting there. You should be using the AP, although maybe I'm using it a little too much in some of these games. I really wanted to try and see how it would go. I'm usually using HE most of the time, but I had to give it a go. And it was very, very solid. Enemy destroyer and submarine pop up to support that Laffey, so we just disengage. Reversing around the corner, probably not the best idea when there's a Zao around, but fortunately we didn't have to worry about that quite so much. Poke around the corner again and get a little bit of cheeky damage in. And then we're sitting in front of a Republic. But we can just pop our smoke screen. And we're dark. Just like that. But I don't know if I would get a full value smoke here if I was a gearing, for example. Popping a 2-minute smoke just to deal with a Republic that's on 20,000 HP and being farmed by Malta and John. He's not going to last very long. Fortunately, we don't have to waste the rest of our smoke now that we've used it here. It's really cool to have this flexibility. I really, really do like Laffey a lot. This bursty engagement style is really fun. Getting punished for taking aggressive engagements isn't so bad when you have so much healing involved. You get 3 super heals here. It seems like it heals a lot of the damage you take. Not 100% of it, but a little better than the standard 50% pen damage. We get 60% here. 3 super heals. There will be times where you don't get quite full value, but for the most part, you should be getting through these heals no problem and taking a lot of damage, but also not dying to it. Again, trying to wiggle, and we throw off entire salvos from this enemy Laffey here. This is why I just sit bow in, and I'm constantly trying to avoid the damage that could be taken. We sure heal a lot, but what's better than healing is just avoiding that damage entirely. Taking an aggressive flank here. There's a Moskva even on this flank. We also have a burst fire. The burst fire does not improve your DPM. It's a massive reduction in your DPM. But if someone's about to go dark in their smoke, maybe it's a good idea to use it. Although when you have a John the Ruthless Colbert, maybe it's not required at all. Yeah, we're going to do pretty okay on this flank. What about a Moskva at 10 kilometers here? Waiting for our guns to reload. Let's focus on dodging. Our rudder shift is excellent. We're a relatively small target, and we accelerate okay. The ship does not get an engine boost. It'd be really fun if it did. Maybe it'd be too strong if it did. I do not think Laffey is overpowered, by the way. I just think it's really, really fun. You don't have that option, though, to swap over to an engine boost. Instead, though, we get the best defensive fire in the entire game. This buffs our defensive AA continuous damage by 200%, which no other defensive fire does, and we get the 300% flak damage, which is standard for defensive fires. That doesn't make Laffey the best AA ship in the game, it just means that when the consumable is up, it buffs your ship the most. And notice how I'm just never going for my rear turret here with this Moskva. 11 kilometers Moskva, and we're dodging his fire even with an engine boost, or our engine disabled here. You know, there's some dispersion involved with that, but it's not easy to hit a Laffey that refuses to greed for its rear gun. Constantly using that drifting tactic and avoiding most of... Like, look at that, man. It's really, really good, even against a Moskva. So light cruisers with worse shell velocity, considering they have better reload, it can be harder because they can adjust for your dodging a little bit quicker. But still, it's pretty fun to be able to dodge that fire. And he actually gives up and goes after John in his Colbert instead. So then we can go for the main guns. Not a lot of damage being dealt, of course, because these guns are hard to lead. We only can deal damage to a superstructure. Unfortunately, the HE shells also have gearing fire chance. Most of the DDs that get released in this game have like an 8% fire chance these days on destroyer guns. We only get 5%. This is kind of a relic of 2015 boats where things were not quite as powerful. Gearing was a monster ship, a monster gunboat back in the day, and now, well, it's mostly a torp boat, let's be honest, or a hybrid at the very least. So Laffey having these same guns, you don't get very many fires. Sure, you will get them just because you're shooting all the time, but something like Daring has only a little bit more HE DPM than us, but his fire chance is way higher thanks to having that 8% fire chance built in rather than 5% base here. And for that fires per minute statistic that I talked about with the GNAN being so ridiculously high, yeah, it's only 6 fires per minute with the Laffey. 10.3 on Daring though, so massive jump up. If you're not feeling like you're getting many fires with Laffey, that's probably because you aren't compared to something like Daring. But what you do have is just the ridiculous amount of healing that Daring doesn't have. Daring is similar to Laffey in that it takes bursty engagements and can heal back, but it cannot heal back near as much. And while the smokes on Daring certainly are good for bursting and dealing a bit of damage and then moving on, Laffey's can be up and down so much quicker. Here we're going to use that to surprise a Jaeger. He's actually going to get close enough that he gets spotted, and then I'm going to smoke. And he'll probably try to torp me. He will try to torp me, and then I can drop that smoke so quickly. And he may not be expecting that. I think that's really fun tactic to use. Not to use it to farm from for a particularly long time, but just to engage, just disengage long enough that they assume that you're not going to spot them again, and then you do. It's really enjoyable. If you're on the fence about Laffey after seeing this still and you own a Daring, I think the easiest way to say it is if you enjoy Daring, you'll probably enjoy Laffey. It's a more aggressive version of Daring, less focused on farming, but more focused on cap contesting yet. Sure, you don't get the hydro, but it's maneuverable enough and you're not sitting in smokes for very long at all, so you're probably not getting torped all that often. It's a really good ship in my opinion, and well worth getting as a Dockyard ship. Unfortunately, a bit of a FOMO tactic as well from Wargaming. These Dockyard ships tend to not come back, and unfortunately when they do come back, as evidenced earlier this year, we had the Prevention come back and it was loot boxes only. To guarantee it was over $500. And then ZF6 also came back, loot box only. To guarantee it was well over $1,000. Ridiculous. At least Lushun B. Lushun was a Dockyard ship. We're getting a B variant for another Dockyard. And I think that's much more reasonable. Wargaming, if you're listening at all, please, I've said this over and over again about Dockyards, please just add them to like the campaigns tab. Let people buy into them like 2 years after the initial Dockyard, something like that. Give people their early access time to it if they finish the initial Dockyard, but if they didn't manage to complete it or they weren't there for it, allow people to get these ships. They're not busted overpowered. Typically Dockyard ships, I mean, Wisconsin is pretty wild, let's be honest, but for the most part, they're just interesting, well-balanced ships with a cool gimmick that are fun to play. And giving more people access to that, I think, would go a long way to the replayability of this game and just having fun while grinding out missions. The campaigns tab has been left dormant for so long. When was the last time we got one? Was it Halsey, I guess, was the last one? Halsey's been in the game for years. I think it'd be really cool to have something like other games do with their battle passes, allowing people to buy into them later on. I think there are some other examples of games doing that. Like, does Helldivers 2 do that? I don't actually play that game, but maybe that one does it. Does Halo Infinite do that? Although Halo Infinite did not go over very well, so maybe not the best example, but there are games that allow you to buy old battle passes, which is essentially what a Dockyard is. We have 2 battle passes in this game, the event pass and Dockyards every once in a while, which seems kind of crazy, but it'd be really nice to have access to some of these ships again. If you're worried about that, maybe Wargaming will bring some more of these back. They've shown an interest in that this year. Didn't go over so well early on in this year, but if they rerun Dockyards, maybe that's something they're going to do instead of a new Dockyard only. Maybe in between these new Dockyards, seems like they do, what, 2 or 3 Dockyards per year, new ones? Maybe in between those times, they rerun old Dockyards. I don't know. I just think it'd be really cool to have not everything be locked behind FOMO if you didn't get it instantly. Laffey, though, is quite fun. Reversing towards the enemy, torping out enemy destroyers in caps. I haven't showcased the torps too much here, but they are still gearing torps in terms of damage, so you gotta watch out. Within 8 kilometers, way worse range, less than half the range of a gearing torpedo, and a worse reload. But they retain the same speed, so into caps like this, got a surprising number of DD kills with the torpedoes, just throwing them out at a cap zone, as well as for YOLO rushes, right? We can always do some YOLO rushes. But reversing around this corner for this Turpitz, getting maybe a little too greedy for it, but we have the healing. It allows me to play just so aggressive and so greedy for the extra damage here. Not that I'm dealing a ton of damage, but oftentimes that supplemental damage can help out a lot in gaining control of some of these cap zones. Still just going to continue to reverse around the corner. 8 kilometers now from a rest, which has pretty scary HE. If he gets a decent salvo into us, that would be really bad for the vast majority of destroyers. Double fire. But that's not even half. Well, it's actually a little more than half of our heal. 1 heal, though, only. It's really fun to just be able to non-stop fire and take some damage without worrying about it too much. Oftentimes, when you don't have a heal, you gotta play so passive and careful early game. I'm always telling you guys to do that with cruisers especially. You're so powerful late game with your DPM and maybe your utility as well. Anytime you don't have to worry about those battleship overmatch, crossfires, that kind of thing. In the late game, you become very strong. But as soon as you have this super healing ability, there's a lot more you can get away with early game. Impacting more battles and maybe having more impact to keep games from resulting in blowout losses for your team. Now we see the Colombo fire his guns, and that means we can go after him. Yes, I did take a lot of damage here in that first clip, as you guys know. Colombo just has really good firing angles is what it comes down to here. I probably should have healed. I had time to use my heal and probably get it back up again before I got to this Colombo YOLO. He had the AP. Remember, SAP with battleships does not actually full pen destroyers, so AP or SAP, we would have lived that salvo. Although, given that was his only back guns, I guess we would have died to a full salvo. Good thing he actually fired those main guns. And now I get just a little too aggressive. The problem with playing aggressive is that you don't have a hydro, and other ships might. So we're not going to survive very long here. I got to get myself into this tiny little cove and hope that this Guden decides to sit on the island and not just push out flat broadside to pretty much my entire team trying to get me here. 21 seconds to our heal. It is a standard heal cooldown, so it isn't just like so bursty with these heals that you can do almost anything. You do have to wait the standard 80 seconds for it. And here we are going to go down, unfortunately. But we've done enough this game that our team can carry it out. And as for the build here on Laffey, of course, we're going with a main gun build. Although I haven't gone so far as to give up concealment in favor of full DPM. You'll notice I was missing Fearless Brawler in all of these games. It is something I should try out, but considering our shell velocity, I really want the best concealment we can get. 6 kilometers, a little bit worse than gearing, but not so bad that we can't engage with the stealthiest of ships at this tier. it's more than enough to get into those engagements relatively safely. Still a 2.5-second reload with this build, and Adrenaline Rush gives us a lot back as we go down. We can afford to stay on half HP because we have so much healing, rather than being a little worried to lose so much HP early game. And that can be a little risky using AR like that, but that's another 10% reload buff if we're on half HP, of course. Otherwise, going with full survivability expert here, your super healing is based on your base HP. So the higher you can get this number, the more percentage, the more you will get, because the percentage-based healing you will get out of your heals. I hope that made sense. Oh my goodness, I can't even talk this morning, apparently. Sorry. Otherwise, yes, full gun build here. Even with the change to module damage, I want main armaments mod 1. Still lost a turret here and there, and I don't want to be using my damage control to repair a turret in a DD engagement. I really want to keep those alive as much as I can. Otherwise, you eat a fire at the very end or a double fire, and then you're on the low HP, and then you tick out to a fire or something like that. Only minute 20 here on this smoke. Bit of a problem, but you can play around it. Using island cover, of course, but as well as playing more open water. You got to get used to that playstyle if you're going to play a Laffey. I didn't mention it yet, but it's basically like a kid on steroids, right? We have the tier 8 kid with a heal and decent DPM, but no better than the American DDs at its tier. Also having the poor shell velocity, but you get a heal, and it's a bit like that at tier 10. A little bit more extreme, of course, but very, very fun. So if you actually have that premium ship at tier 8 and you enjoy it, Laffey is also well worth getting. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, of course. If you don't have Laffey yet, you can get a wide variety of opinions down there too, if you don't want to just hear one person's, which you shouldn't. You should get a wide variety of opinions on these things, as always. But thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.